The present writer foregathered a little while since with a man who had been to the uttermost parts of the earth. He had just returned from Australia and was casually met on what the vulgar call the tuppenny tube, traveling from the Bank to Shepherd's Bush. It was a humorous anticlimax to all those other journeys, but that is not the point here to be made. He was full, as might have been expected, of tales strange and curious of those outposts of civilization he had visited, and of legends of places, whose names generally ended with two gulps and a click, where civilization was an unknown quantity. But to this man, who had been everywhere and elsewhere, who had crossed the dark continent when it was still dark, England, his native land, was largely a sealed book. Even as one spoke with him, it could be perceived how perfect an exemplar he was of many globe-trotting Britons who roam the world and can talk to you at first hand of Bulawayo or the Australian bush, but are instantly nonplussed if the subject of rural England be broached. When he was done talking of places with savage and infinitely repetitive names, composed of fantastically arranged vowels with never a consonant to consort with them, he was asked if he knew Kent. Kent? He repeated in jingle-like fashion. Why, yes. Canterbury Cathedral, Hop Gardens, Charles Dickens, Rochester, Dover, and all that, he concluded with a vague sweep of his arm. Run through it on your way to Paris, he added in an explanatory way, and that was all he knew of Kent, a place you run through on the way to somewhere else. Kent has its lovable qualities, and when you have eliminated the thronging tramps, the paper and other factories, the objectionable hop pickers, the bean feasters, and the multitudinous yahoos who people its nearer cockneyfied districts, there is a very considerable residuum of exquisite country. The elimination of all those items would be what the slangy term a big order. But the tourist who knows, and even the tourist who does not actually know, but can infer and deduce, need never lose himself in the Kent of commerce and blackguardism. He seeks out and by instinct finds the best, and having found the best that Kent affords, is ready to declare that it is hard to beat. It is, for example, impossible to match, even in Devon, the beauty of that fertile fruit and hop-bearing belt of country which begins at Newington, a few miles below Chatham, and continues beside the Dover Road, past Tainham and Faversham, and on to Canterbury. It is a beauty that appeals alike and at once to the artist and the man with carnal appetites and fleshly longings, for once off the dusty high road, it is a constant succession of orchards and hop gardens, wherein it is pleasant to lie on sunny afternoons in the dappled shade of the apple, pear, or cherry trees, with the sweet-eating sheep for sole companions, and the noise of the toilsome world coming restfully over the hedgerows. It is a noisy and a toilsome world. There goes the roar of the big guns down at the Medway forts. The clear note of the bugles sings up faintly, like an anthem from amid a naughty nest of vipers. Out of Chatham and New Brompton, we are being duly taken care of. The whistling and rushing of the railway trains are never still, and you can hear that holiday world which takes its vacation strenuously, pip-pipping on cycles, poop-pooping on motor cars, and playing the yearnful concertina on the passing brake like anything, t'other side of the merciful hedge. Even if you could not hear them, the signs of their passing would be evident in the cloud of chalk dust, which, like the pillar of cloud by day that guided the children of Israel, marks their route. But the land of promise sought by those pilgrims at such speed is not ours. This is one way in which beauteous Kent appeals, as we have said, to the carnal man, who perceives that if indeed Devonshire cream be good, equally good are the kindly fruits of Kent. If Kent be essentially the market garden of England, rather than preeminently the garden in the picturesque sense, certainly this country yields to none other in historic or literary interest. That coast where Caesar and Augustine, easily first among the great personages of history, landed. This fertile county which contains the metropolitan cathedral of the Church of England, The neighborhood of Rochester and Maidstone, linked with the literary activities of Charles Dickens, must needs hold the affections of Englishmen, irrespective of the physical and aesthetic attractions of scenery. But there is another great literary figure connected with Kent, both by birth and by reason of his having exploited many of its rural legends in his merry verse. Richard Harris Barham was born at Canterbury, and in his Ingoldsby legends created an Ingoldsby Country, which he had already peopled with many notable characters before death cut him off in his prime. The capital of the Ingoldsby Country is Canterbury. Its very heart and core is comprised within the district to the east of a line drawn due south from Whitstable to Canterbury, Denton and Hythe, and its frontiers make an indeterminate line to the west beyond Romney Marsh and Ashford. The whole north coast of Kent, including Sheppey, the Swale, and the littoral of the Thames and Medway, is part and parcel of Ingoldsby land, whose isolated and far-off dependencies are found at Shrewsbury, the scene of Blowdy Jack, or Salisbury Plain, where the dead drummer is located, at Wayland Wood, near Wymondham, in Norfolk, where the legend of the babes in the wood belongs, and at Netley Abbey, the scene of a fine poem. London, too, has its Ingoldsby associations duly set forth in these pages.